So we are going to start. Welcome to this webinar, Kickstart Your Finance Career with Storytelling. I'm Soufyan, and in the next 60 minutes, I'm going to share with you, together with an impressive panel made of finance leaders, how to kickstart your finance career with storytelling, and this thanks to 3 secrets. Don't forget that at the end of the webinar, I'm going to share with you how you can do the same as us without having to learn it the hard way. And this exclusively for you who are present with us today. In this webinar, after we've shared the 3 secrets to start your career with storytelling, I will also propose you a Q&A session with questions you already sent or that you are going to send during this webinar to the panelists who are with us today. We will select some and we will answer that together. Plus, I kept another surprise for one person that will be selected in the audience, and believe me, it's worth staying. So stay until the end because there will be value all through the next 60 minutes. So I saw that many people were coming from the whole world, and that's awesome. And today we are here together with my friends, Nicolas, Asif, and Paul, and Mohamed, who will join us later to answer a burning question. How do I succeed to upscale my career in finance? Sorry. I got this question almost 1 million times in the last 2 years, and I guess that my guests too. And we all have this in common. Storytelling helped us get to where we are today. And we're there to help you figure out how storytelling can have the same impact on your career with 3 secrets. But first things first, I don't want to lack respect to my guests anymore, and I'm going to present them one by one. So let's start with Paul. Paul, how are you doing? Tell us a bit about yourself, your career, and especially because it's the topic of the day, how you discovered storytelling and how you learned it.
Yeah, so thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Really excited to be here with you, Soufyan. And for me, I worked in FP&A for most of my career, spent, number of years at large companies such as American Express, Solera, DigiCert, doing various different FP&A roles. And then I started my own business about 2 years ago, and today I do some podcasts, training, and other things. They're saying they cannot hear me.
Yeah, it might be that you have the wrong microphone connected. Check.
I checked that earlier.
Yeah, I think that there is a problem with your mic.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Now?
I can hear Paul clearly. Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay, hold on 1 second. All right, I figured out what the issue is. Thank you. All right, so let me start that over. So yes, as I said, name's Paul Barnhurst, the FP&A guy. Spent my career in FP&A working at a number of large companies for over a decade, and then I went out on my own, and I run my own business doing podcasts, some training, and other things. As far as storytelling, when it comes to presenting, I'd always done presenting. I presented as a kid. I actually presented in front of 1,000 people when I was 17. So the presenting part wasn't necessarily scary for me. I think what I learned and where it really came to matter is I came to realize the importance of practicing when I was in a meeting and it went terrible. And afterwards, I asked my CFO what happened, and he goes, "Your analysis was brilliant, but your presentation lacked." And that was a real learning for me of just that importance. No matter how much you've presented, you need to prepare yourself and put in the time, because you can't assume your audience knows what you're talking about.
Okay, great. Well, indeed, that's one of the tips that you will probably cover later today. But thanks for this introduction. I see that you have a pretty strong career in finance, and obviously to reach where you are, I guess that storytelling has had a strong influence on it. So thank you, Paul. I'm going to switch to Mohamed because we got him finally. So I'm going to switch to you. Sorry for the trouble, the technical issues. Mohamed, what I asked my panelists is to present themselves shortly in like 1 minute, and then also to tell our audience why storytelling was so important in your career. How did you learn it? Where did you find the importance of it? And what did it change for you?
Thank you, Soufyan, and I'm very glad to be here today. Storytelling is one of my favorite topics, and it's very, very important for all the finance professionals and for anyone deal with data. So I'm Mohamed ElRouby. I'm a global finance and strategy leader with more than 20 years of experience in global multinational companies. I handled different global senior roles across Middle East, Africa, Southwest Asia, and currently I'm handling a global role across Middle East, Africa, Europe, LATAM, and Asia Pac. I'm also I have a double hatting, so I'm a CFO also for Middle East and Africa. Storytelling is super important for us. All of us as a finance people, we had to spend a lot of time and a lot of efforts to build, deal with numbers, building a lot of reports, a lot of, budgeting, forecasting, many things, right, as a finance professional. But if we build all of those, reports and all of those data without the ability to inspire people to take actions, without telling people what is behind numbers, without telling people exactly what you have to, what decisions you have to what actions you have to make, definitely all of our efforts will be useless. And I have one golden rule for everyone: presentations without call to actions is a waste of time. So we have to inspire people to take action during our storytelling skills.
Great. Keep it for later because you are going to say so much about it, but I love it. Presentations without call to action is nothing. So great. Thank you so much. We are going to switch closer to me because we are almost neighbors. So we are going to ask Nicolas to come on the spotlight and tell us about yourself. I know you told me so much about how you like storytelling. I want you to share it with our audience today.
Yeah, thank you, Soufyan. So, like everybody here, I'm a finance guy first. I worked for PwC, and then I worked for Thales, which is an international group, a bit like Boeing, for people who know Boeing, but French. And I think people here might know me because I'm present on LinkedIn. I help a lot of people in FP&A, and recently more focused on how to use AI for finance. But with the goal, if we let AI do the robotic stuff, to give finance people more focus on the human stuff. And I have a small story why actually financial storytelling for me became really important the last years. It was in my last job 8 years ago when I went into meetings and I worked so much on my slides because I wanted to convince the people in front of me. And then I really thought I will manage to convince to do a new project. And then at the end of the meetings was just crickets, like people were puzzled and I didn't get the buy-in. I didn't get the CTA like Mohamed said. And then like the meeting after, my manager just went into the meeting. He was not prepared. He had like few slides that were quite ugly, but he got everybody to say yes, and everybody was understanding him. And I was like in my mind, like, how is it possible? Like he didn't prepare for it, and his slides are not pretty, but he got what we needed. He got the buy-in. And so that may be like, that maybe myself really like put in question a lot of things that I believed, and that what is more important actually is to prepare what people need to hear and the message. And rather than like the slides or rather than the financial analysis, because what my manager does really well, and I learned that from him, is to adapt to the audience and to talk like them. So not talk too technically, really talk like them. And
I recognize a lot of what you say. Yeah. I recognize almost every word in what you say.
Yeah. So yeah, so for me, like, as I am a fan of 80-20, I was, okay, let's focus on what works and let's get better at that.
Great. Thank you. Well, as I said, I recognize a lot because I have the impression to see the story of my career in just what you said. So we are going to discover our last panelists, Asif, together with us today. Asif, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and about how you discovered storytelling?
Thank you, Soufyan, for inviting me here, and I'm glad to be here with Paul, Nicholas, and Mohamed along with you. So thank you so much. Quick introduction about me before I talk about storytelling. So I am based out of Mumbai, India. I've worked with different industries, mostly in FP&A, but I started back in audit with EY. So it's been about 13 years while I've been working in finance. I have written a book, which the name of the book is all about FP&A, and it is one of the top selling books in the management accounting category. And one of the chapters is especially dedicated to storytelling. So I'd like to talk about how storytelling, how I identified back while I was working in audit about 10 years ago, why storytelling is so important. So people who have worked in audit might relate to this more than the other people. But when you're auditing a client, you do a lot of work. You do weeks of work in terms of checking the bills, vouching, verification. But at the end of the assignment, you have to present it to the partner, and the partner does the review. And partner usually doesn't give a lot of time. He may be spending maybe 2 or 3 hours on the review. So it was one of those situations while I had prepared for weeks and weeks for the audit, and the day of the partner review was there. And the partner review was supposed to be for 2 hours, but at the end moment, the partner had something urgent, and he told me, okay, I have only 20 minutes for this review. Could you tell me the story? Could you tell me whatever you have done in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks in the 20 minutes I have? And I could not do that. So that's when I realized the importance of bringing the right messages in shortest amount of time so that you can influence people to get the right message across and also be able to take action on it. So that's the time when I realized that storytelling is super important.
Well, that's great. I also recognize a lot in that, and that's maybe the most important point here when we consider the stories of all these persons is that we have that in common. We have that strong point in common is that something that has had an incredible impact in our career. And for my part, it's when I started 17 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined it had such a power. I'm talking about storytelling, of course, because 9 years ago, after almost a decade in consulting firms like PwC and Deloitte, I decided to switch and work as a finance business partner for a company. And this experience gave me quickly results. I created dashboards that were used and appreciated. My financial models were flexible, so I could make a quick change in them. And my reporting stack was almost fully automated. But you know what? It only got me so far because I tried several times to obtain a promotion when my boss left and I didn't get the job. Another finance manager left and I didn't get the job neither. I even tried to change department to obtain, but I didn't get the job. I tried to blame it on so many things like favoritism, jealousy, and sometimes even take the easy way and blame it on racism. Until I got a wake-up call from my VP Finance who, in our monthly review of the results, told me in these exact same words, Soufyan, you're an expert and you explained this to me like I was the same kind of expert. But I'm not, and the people in front of me at the Exco neither. They know their business, and for that, I need stories I can tell them. These words still resonate in my mind. And this was the first time I heard about stories in the context of finance. And I didn't even know what to do with that advice. There was no financial storytelling course at the time. So I managed to find my way through other sources of storytelling, like TED Talks or Toastmasters, public speaking. I had to keep the good, get rid of the bad, because when you speak about storytelling, there are so much bullshit around here. And I practiced until it eventually worked. And I became a financial storyteller and got the promotion I desired so much. And this story is my story, the one of Nicolas or of Mohamed, Asif, and Paul. You have thousands of them in the world. And the thing is, you cannot think that it would appear just like that, because I could tell you about the stories, but I'm pretty sure you would prefer to know how to apply it to your own career, because it's not like it would come all of a sudden when coming to work tomorrow and you get the fruits. For that, you need to understand 3 secrets I'm going to share with you today, and that our guests will complete with actionable tips. So are you ready? Tell us in the chat that you are ready, with a big yes, or simply by using the actions. You're ready? I see yes. Hell yeah, ready. That's awesome. So just give me some seconds to find a way to share my screen, because this is now that the moment starts with you, with our 3 secrets. Are you ready? Great. So
A lot of people are ready, huh?
yeah, I see that. So I'm just going to with PowerPoint, it's not always easy. I'm going to share my PowerPoint. So you see the full screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So secret number 1, soft skills will be the differentiator. So that's a pretty amusing start. As of the level of manager, because when you start your career, gaining a strong technical background is not only nice, but also necessary, because it builds your credibility. No one is going to trust finance professionals who makes a lot of mistakes or can bring value through his or her knowledge and skills. But pretty soon, you have to make a choice. Because when you start to evolve as a controller, you will start to see less impact of the technical skills and more impact of the soft skills. But this is where when you start to move up in FP&A or as a CFO, that you will clearly see a major difference. So to start participating to important meetings, to start communicating to other departments and be the relay of finance, at a certain moment, you'll see that only mastering Excel and all the rules of IFRS will not do the trick anymore. So in that case, it's important that you understand that you won't have the return of learning technical skills when you make the switch to become a more generalist, but also a more important person in the company. And I think that when I discussed it with Asif, he had some interesting points to say about that. Asif, why don't you share with us what you want to say about the soft skills in our career?
Yes, I'll share again a story from my experience. So this was when I was working with Citibank about 5 years back, and I joined there working as an analyst in FP&A, and I used to work very hard. I used to do all that was told to me and more, but I did realize, as you mentioned, when the time came for the promotion or the time came for choosing somebody for an important project, it was always somebody who was more visible in the organization versus hardworking. So it's one thing to be hardworking, it's another thing to be visible in the organization. So what I noticed was there was one person who was at the same level as I was, equally talented, equally hardworking. Maybe slightly, I was slightly more hardworking in my opinion. But that guy got the promotion and the important project because he was more visible. And how he was more visible? He used to do trainings in the organization. So he used to train the new people who joined the organization and was a part of he was a big part of the induction training. So the tip here or the tip here is to become a better, the secret that you mentioned, which is soft skills will be differentiator as of a manager. So the tip I would like to share, and which I also implemented later on, I became a subject matter expert in one of the topics and I started the trainings. As soon as I started doing those trainings in my company, I got the next promotion, I got the next big project. So the tip here is to become an expert in one particular topic in your area and start teaching it to others in your organization.
That's an excellent tip, Asif. Really, I like that because it's actionable, and I think that our audience here will appreciate it. So thank you for that. And we will jump to the next secret, the secret number 2. So let me share my screen again because I lost it. And we will jump to the next secret, which is the secret number 2. Don't wait till you're CFO to give presentations, because if you don't, you will never be a CFO. If you haven't practiced before and you haven't got visible enough, as Asif said earlier, well, you won't become important in the company. Whether you like it or not, it's people who are the best at communicating ideas who are rewarded, not the ones with the best ideas. So start already today to practice, and it doesn't have to be the board because you have to give presentations, and it doesn't especially have to be the board or the exco. Let's be honest, chances are small that you directly have an access to them if you are an entry level or a senior member of the finance team. It doesn't have to be the exco or nor a level or a high level audience, because generally those will be taken care of by the CFO or the finance directors. So a first step you could do is to start with them. So if they present to the people above, like the board or the exco, well, present your work to the CFO. And if you don't have access to the CFO, present your work to the finance director, etc., until arriving to a level that's pretty acceptable. Start where you are. This is what's super important. And you can also present horizontally. You don't especially need to arrive to people who are above you. You can present to your finance colleagues. If you are in a controlling team, an FP&A team, you have other people who represent other business units. Well, present to them in an info sharing sessions, for example. You don't always only have them. You also have your business colleagues that will certainly appreciate a finance presentation in their staff meetings, like every month, every quarter. Show your interest, and it's important to know that it won't come because the world expects that from you. It will come because you ask for it. So it's really important to take this ownership, because if I remember myself, in my last job, I wanted so bad to give presentations, but I didn't have any opportunity because my manager took them all. I thought it was super selfish, but discussing with him, actually, I noticed that he did that only to protect us, because he thought that it was super dangerous to expose ourselves to other departments. And I think that when I discuss about these topics, Nicolas has an interesting anecdote to share with us about that. Well, why don't you share it with us, Nicolas?
Yeah, so actually I can only just agree with you that even if you are a junior, nobody will take your hand. So if you want to start to have skills, like Paul said, you need practice. And what I usually did with my team is first, so different levels. I always said, okay, we'll start soft. You will come in to the meeting and you will see the atmosphere. You will see the words that are used. You will also, and I will ask you to do that. You will come and observe and note for yourself what you think is good, but also what do you think is bad. And then once they have seen one or two meetings, I will ask them on one of their slides that they have prepared for the meeting to take the lead, and I will be there to have their back if something is wrong. And what I will do, either openly or not, but I will explain to other people, maybe like be gentle with them, but I will welcome them. And like this, when is the time? When maybe I'm sick, maybe there is a bigger project to present, the person in my team will be ready to present. So if you are a junior, discuss with your manager about doing this step by step. Ask permission to go to meeting, especially if you got a new job. It's really easy. You can just use the excuse to be new to say, "Oh, I want to go and see how are the meetings." Take this, and then if you prepare the slide, go and ask, "Oh, I want to see because my work, I want to see what is the impact." And then if after a while ask, "Okay, can I present maybe my part?" And it might be just responding to one question, but ask it. And after, once you are comfortable, ask for more. And like the hungriest you get, the better you will get, the more practice. And soon enough, people will recognize you as somebody with a lot of credibility. And it might be you who will become and receive the promotion and not other people.
Nice. No, really interesting. And I can only agree with you because this is clearly what I recommend to the people I train, to the people I see in my coaching, is that you have to take this ownership, and it will not come from someone else, and take every opportunity you can. And the tips that you gave to participate to meeting, even as a participant, is clearly a point, because people will see your face, you will observe what happens. So thank you for that, Nicolas. And I wanted to ask the same question to Mohamed, because I think that storytelling is one of your favorite topics. So you clearly have some tips to give us for people who are more junior or senior to start giving presentations.
Yeah, I believe I would like to share a very important tip for anyone who wants to present. Most of people who are in the entry level or junior levels, they are very passionate to tell everything. So we have a passion. I want to tell the management about the accounts receivable aging. I want to tell the management about the capex, about the opex, about which department is overspending. I have a lot of things I want to tell the management. Because the people who are in the entry level, they are, we can say in the kitchen, they are working on every detailed, single detail in the finance function. But when you present to the executives or the top management, they are not interested to hear a lot, about everything, right? They don't have time to hear or get like tens of messages or tens of numbers. Sometimes also when you present, sometimes I saw people put in one single slide more than 700 numbers, just putting actual versus budget versus prior year to date year to go. So only one slide includes more than 700 numbers. And people expect executives to make decision based on those numbers. So when you are working in this kind of detailed of data, executives have a completely different perspective. They want to know exactly the top key messages. This is the top secret. So one of the key rules I learned during my career is rule of three. This is very, very powerful rule, which is rule of three. Once you finish we name it data exploration. When you make all of your analysis, the relationships, all the relationships, understanding the trends, understanding ratios, numbers, everything, List all the findings you found in your working and select the top 3 messages. Don't present everything. Just select the top 3 messages. When you present to the management, tell them today I'm going to talk about 3 things. Number 1, our sales performance for product A. Number 2, let's say OPEX. Number 3, aging for customer A. That's all. When you present and use the rule of 3, your message will be very clear to the management. They can take action because you present to them very clear and very high level data. And also another top important example when we talk about rule of 3, look at the marketing people. Look at Nike, for example. They said, just do it. 3 words. Even emergency numbers. Why emergency number is 3 numbers, not 1 number, right? If you have anything emergency, call 911, right? So rule of 3 is very powerful. I recommend everyone to use rule of 3 when you speak to top management, when you talk about any story. Just use the rule of 3 and keep anything else as a backup if anyone asks for any details.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously here today, what did I say? That we would have 3 secrets. 3 is important because this is what the human brains can keep as information. And that's awesome because you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and without too much extension. So thank you for this super tip, Mohamed. I'm pretty sure that our audience is impressed by that. And I heard of it many times, and I can only recommend you all to use that. But speaking of 3, we have our secret number 3. So let's go to the secret number 3 because this one is a golden nugget. So we had our secret number 2, and we have now our secret number 3, which is start with the conclusion, even in your mails. Why do I say that? Because it's important to have that in mind in all your communication with top management. Why do I say that? Well, because let's think about storytelling in general. In most cases, you have executive in front of you or other busy people. And what we often hear when we hear about storytelling is how you must raise to the aha moment with building up the tension up to the moment that you deliver the conclusion and then end up with a call to action. That's how classic storytelling is. But contrary to the classic storytelling structure, well, in finance, you don't have to build the tension gradually to get to the aha moment and relieve the tension with your call to action. In finance, you throw the sauce directly, and then you lead toward a discussion in which you bring your knowledge and your calculations and your models. And for them, finance is not an end. For the people who are with you, you have to think about the fact that finance is not an end as such. Finance is a mean to take a decision. So that's why they need these conclusions so fast in the meeting so that they have all the time when you deliver them the conclusion to discuss. And this is why the end in finance is not so flat, because there will be a discussion, you will make a proposal, you will make a call to action, you will make a recommendation, and the people who are in the meeting will discuss with you those, will ask you to assess the impact on the forecast or on the budget, and you will play a sort of role of facilitator in that case. You're not a presenter anymore, because that's the important difference in finance. Presentations are not a one-to-many exercise. It's a many-to-many because you deliver your insights and then there will be a discussion. And that's super important to keep in mind because it's not a TED Talk. You are not there to speak during 30 minutes and that no one will interrupt you. You will have questions, you will have certainly oppositions, but you will be ready because of your story. And speaking about delivering the conclusion before, I always think about what I get from Paul, because when I discuss with Paul, I often have this. I don't remember the name, Paul. The bluff. What was it again?
Bluff.
Bluff. Yeah. So what was it?
Yeah, so the principle bluff stands for bottom line up front. You know, I'm a very detailed person, and I was working with a director and it drove him crazy. And one day he looked at me and he goes, Paul, I'm going to teach you a principle you need to learn. I'm like, okay. And he goes, bluff. What are you talking about? And he goes, bottom line up front. He's like, you can give me all the details you want, but get to the point. And so I think what's important to remember in presentations, emails, communicating with senior leaders, one, they're extremely busy. Two, they're typically a senior leader because they focus on the big picture. Yes, some may be very detailed, but most of them just want the high level so they can make a decision and move on. And so what he told me, he's like, just give me the bottom line up front in the first line. He's like, you can add all the details you want. And his voice and his eyes said, I'll never read them, but you'll probably feel better because you're a detailed person. And, you know, I started doing that. It made a big difference in my career. It was after that, you know, I got a promotion as a director, and it was something I always had to work on because I'm extremely analytical and detailed. But, you know, people want you to get to the point. They don't need to know everything you need to know. They need to know enough context to make a decision. And often getting to it up front allows you, like you said, to have that conversation throughout the meeting instead of waiting till the end and it's like, oh, we'll discuss this in the next meeting, and then the next meeting never happens.
That's the issue, because when you are in front of such people, their first impression of you is pretty quickly taken. And don't forget that these people are generally the ones who will decide whether you go up or down or out. I seriously don't wish you to go out, but those people, the executives who are in these important meetings, they will be the one who will give the final check to decide whether you get promoted or not. So that's important to impress them. And I'm pretty sure that the bluff method that you showed us, so bluff bottom line up front, is an important tip. And I would really recommend it to anyone attending today. So those were our three secrets. Thank you, Paul, for the bluff. Those were our three secrets, but don't forget to stay until the end because our guests will answer to many other questions. And I encourage you to write your question in the Q&A section, because now we are going to jump to the part you waited for, the Q&A session.
And if I may, I had the chance to give a training to people, so to FP&A people for a big company with Soufyan. And we used the full financial storytelling program from Soufyan for this company. And the CFO was really pleased because his objective was to make his team the best business partners. And his own word, he wanted really that finance people are business people with finance expertise. And what is good with Soufyan is that in his program, he really gives you what normally top companies pay a lot of money for that, but it gives you that in the program. And I work with him. And I also really like, because in all of our trainings, Soufyan does a lot of exercise, and I really feel learning is with a lot of exercises and only with practice. And that's what I really like in the course that you have done, because I had the chance to sit by myself. So for everybody here, if you really think you want to get a promotion, it will not be without knowing how to do financial storytelling.
Paul, do you want to take this one? Because yes, I think it's a great one for you. How do you overcome the fear of speaking in front of people? My voice becomes shaky despite adequate preparedness and mastery of the subject at hand. Since you prepare a lot of podcasts, I guess that speaking is something that's pretty day-to-day for you, right?
It definitely is. But I mean, I think there's a couple things. Everybody gets nervous to some extent. That's normal. Some people's voice gets shaky. So, first, as always, make sure you're prepared, which I think you're doing, and practice. The next thing is, if your voice is getting really shaky and you're having a hard time, make sure ahead of time you do some things, get lots of water, you're breathing, you relax yourself. Other things that work really well before presenting, and there's a TED Talk on it by Amy Cuddy, where she talks about basically using a power pose to help put you in that right frame of mind. And so doing some of those type of things can help calm yourself down. If there's other things like maybe music beforehand helps calm you. You want to get yourself in a place where you feel comfortable. And what that is can be different for everybody. So yes, you always need to do your homework. Make sure you've practiced. You've done all those things up front. But then also make sure you properly prepared yourself in the sense of, okay, I got the water, I've calmed my body. You've done all those things to limit the anxiety. It may still be there and it may take a little while for you to get comfortable. And as you do it more, hopefully you'll get to the point where you no longer have that anxiety, at least noticeable. You're still going to have some inside, but you're not shaky. You're not, sweating everywhere and everybody's looking at it like, okay, how's this going to end? Right? You'll get more and more comfortable.
Thank you, Paul, for that. I will free you if you have to go. But thank you so much for being here and sharing with us your wisdom. We are going to take like two or three other questions, and we are going to continue the Q&A.
And take his course. It's a great course from Soufyan. So great offer he's giving you today. So I'll sneak out, but take advantage of it, people.
Thank you, Paul. Bye. Bye. I have another question that seems quite important. Do you recommend any specific infographic tools for developing the useful presentation specifically for senior management and board? I know my answer, but I will leave someone who wants to take it. Nicolas, go.
Yeah, because actually, there is a really good function in PowerPoint. We disagree on Soufyan with that, but you go on PowerPoint and let me show you quickly on a blank, because it takes 2 seconds to show you.
Okay.
So if you are on PowerPoint, and I don't know if I'm allowed, there is the smart art function. So if you see, let's say, for example, if I say ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, so you always need to put your ideas first. And then there is this magic button. And when I say magic, it's really magic. Because once you have your ideas clear, you just click on this, and then you organize really quickly, and you can change the colors. You can make it also on some sort of other type of framework. But the goal is to first write and then see what is the best visual for it. Don't do the other way around. Don't find the visual and then write inside. Write first and then use smart art. So I'll do it again for everybody. Just type and then click here.
You got your opportunity to show smart art, but I will assure people there's a video about smart art in the financial storytelling program. So don't worry, even if it's not my favorite feature, I can only admit that it's super helpful. So thank you for that. Nicolas, I'm going to see if there is a last question. Yeah, I see an interesting question. I will maybe reformulate to make sure. What are the main differences between face-to-face and remote presentations? Mohamed, do you want to tell us something about that? Like in 30 seconds, if you have a tip to give.
Yes, for sure. For virtual one, I believe you need to make it more interactive, because in the virtual one, you will not get the opportunity to see everyone, and it's difficult also to engage people quickly. So try to use different tips, different techniques to engage people. But face to face, you can see all the people. So once you start with grabbing attention or asking just one quick questions to grab people attention, it will be easy. But I believe the more difficult one is virtual. This is why try to make it all the time interactive. Ask different questions, give some tips, some things to make it all interactive.
Yeah. So Asif, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to add. So what I usually tell people is, when you are virtual, it's usually a box that people see, right? It's a box, and sometimes you don't even switch on the camera. So first thing is switch on the camera. If you're not doing that in your meetings, presentations, so please switch on the cameras. The next step would be, if you want to take it to the next level, would be to mimic whatever you would have done in the meeting. So for example, if you would be present physically in the meeting room, you would have gone near the screen and you would have presented it, right? So make an effort to stand up. Make sure you have a table where you can adjust it, and then you can stand up and talk, where people can see you move, people can see your hand gestures, people can see your body language. So make sure that you can mimic as closely as you can as you're doing it in the meeting room.
Great, thank you, thank you. Those are the tips I also give, and I recognize them all. I'm just going to wrap up because Nicolas has to go. So thank you, Nicolas. That was super to be with us today. You shared with us a lot of wisdom, a lot of tips, and I'm super happy that you came. I only can recommend for people who do not follow Nicolas to follow him on LinkedIn. Of course, I'm pretty sure you do, because he has like 800,000 followers on LinkedIn. So basically a finance professional of the whole earth. But if you don't do it, it's the best.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And really financial storytelling, now that a lot of tools are available to crunch data, it will be more on how you present data, what is important. So consider this really seriously.
Thank you,
Bye.
Nicolas. Thank you, Nicolas.
Bye-bye.
For the Q&A,
I would like to add. So I've known Soufyan for a while now, I think over 2 years. And the free stuff he shares on LinkedIn is worth probably more than what he's charging for the course today. So if you've seen some of his free stuff, I cannot imagine what would his paid program would look like. So if I were you, I would definitely jump onto it.
Thanks a lot, Asif. That's really friendly of you. What I wanted to tell you about the Q&A is that I see that there are a lot of questions, and I promise I will answer them in a mail so that you have your answers. But of course, we are out of time. Thank you so much, and have a nice evening for some people and day for the others. Thank you.